Good morning. How's everyone doing? Thank you. Thank you to Bursa Malaysia and as well as Hong Leong Investment Bank for inviting MCMC to present this morning. Originally it was Chairman Ishal that had received the invitation. His apologies for not being able to be here with you this morning. So here I am presenting on his behalf, if you like. So I'm the Chief Digital Officer over at MCMC, and today it gives me great privilege and honor to share with you some perspectives in terms of the opportunities, if you like, within the new media platforms. But first and foremost, before I go further, let's just share with you some real-world realities, right, with regards to new media platforms. Now, some of these has been shared by the speakers earlier this morning, but I'd like to just share another perspective which was just reported about 3 days ago, or rather 2 days ago. It was first announced in the US by Google, and it was probably about Tuesday morning our time. For first time, actually, Google, if you realize, has announced their YouTube advertising revenue in its Q4 earnings. And in the 2019 fiscal year, YouTube captured $15 billion in ad revenue, which is a growth of 36% year on year, and accounting for almost 10% of Google's entire total revenue. So it's huge. It's the first time that Google has actually reported numbers on YouTube, never done before. In fact, everyone has been guessing all this while. To put it into perspective, this $15 billion in revenue captured by YouTube is more than all of the revenue captured by ABC, NBC, and Fox broadcast networks combined, right? And only Netflix, right, is chasing Netflix, obviously, and Netflix revenue for 2019 was $20 billion. So YouTube is just short by $5 billion. Just to put it into perspective, right? The other perspective is that YouTube plans to bolster further the use of its platform, right? So the keyword is the word platform, for shopping, and amid a more general push into direct response advertising. So it's going down the value chain to be able to reach to the audiences and complete, if you like, the purchasing process. Not just advertising, but going all the way down, if you like, into the transactional capabilities of what the platform can actually provide. Now, why I want to share all this is because subsequently, and a bit later in my presentation, some of these points will be relevant for our own Malaysian market. So bear with me, all right? The other reality is this. If I can go to the next slide. The reality is this, that the industry, as far as the broadcast and advertising media here in Malaysia, is certainly under threat. And I'm sure some of you, if not all of us, have read in terms of BBC, right? So it's not just Malaysia, it's a global, if you like, industry under threat. BBC News last week actually announced that they had to cut 450 jobs as part of its savings, right? And as you all know, in December last year, Media Prima made similar rationalization exercises with regards to its manpower. So all this has happened, and to some extent, we know why this is happening is because of the way in which how trends and the industry is moving. So I just want to share with you some numbers, which I'm sure most of you have already heard some of it from this morning. The point is the world has gone digital. All of us know that, and the numbers are growing. Right? These are the numbers, and if you look at the growth numbers, it's phenomenal. Right? The internet users grew by 9.1% in 1 year, and that's on a global perspective. And that's a huge number because that adds 367 million viewers, if you like, or users onto the internet in just that 1 year in 2019. Now, why do I put up some of the global numbers is because in today's day and age, with the internet, and if most of you are operating on the internet, you are open to the whole world. And that is your oyster, right? And so it's not just about Malaysia, if you think about it carefully. But just talk about Asia Pacific, the numbers are also significant. And the penetration numbers are huge as well, across the region, and certainly across the world. And when you talk about total population, on the far left, urbanization, 48% in Asia Pacific. Guess what? In Malaysia, our urbanization numbers is even more significant. In Malaysia, 7.5 or 75% of Malaysians actually live in urban centers. So there's a huge population shift that has happened in terms of people in Malaysia living in cities. So that has got also a shift and change in consumer behavior, if you think about it. And in Malaysia, our telecommunications sector contributes significantly to the capital market, right? If you look at the capital market, market capitalization of telecommunication companies alone, it's at 134 billion, an increase of 12.8% since 31st of October 2018 to the time when this was measured in 31st of December 2019. And if you think about the whole market capitalization of Bursa, in fact, last year was a bit of a challenging year, but the telecommunications industry has done well. And there is a correlation to the telecommunications industry and the growth of new media as well. Because if we don't have the telecommunication companies, which we earlier spoke about, OT was a given, but if you don't have telecommunication companies and all of these smartphones today that are connecting all of us, we wouldn't have the ability to have a new media platform. And that's why I want to share with you some numbers which relates back to the state of telecommunications here in Malaysia. Because, as I said, if we don't have these penetration rates and broadband subscription, the new media platform wouldn't have been able to take off as well. We wouldn't have OTT if not because of superior broadband infrastructure. So this infrastructure is important, and if you can see, it has been growing steadily. This chart is, the last 3 bars at the side are actually measured in quarters. So in fact, if you collapse all of that and you added on Q4 2019, actually it's still growing significantly, pretty much double-digit growth on a year-by-year basis. That's where Malaysia is in terms of its growth. Details on the boxes on the right. If anybody wants these slides, I'll be happy to share it with you. The state of connectivity in Malaysia, if you look at mobile broadband, right, the bar in the middle, right, or broadband penetration rate per 100 inhabitants or population of Malaysia, we are at about 130%. This is as of 2019, October 2019. And mobile broadband penetration, if I were to ask how many of you carry more than one smartphones, if I may, to be a bit more interactive, how many of you carry more than one smartphone with you? Hands up, don't be shy. I'm not sure why you need the other smartphone, but... Well, actually, I've got 2, and the other one is in the back. But yeah, the point here is, I'm sure everyone has one of these, right? And the numbers shows for itself. That's the Malaysia's broadband penetration rate, and that's why we are saying that we are all mobile first. In some instance, we want to say we are mobile only, right? Because there's not much left other than just mobile. But mobile first for sure. But if I may just point out to you, fixed broadband penetration rate is at 8.2%. That's fixed broadband. So there's a lot of opportunity, and that's one of the reasons why in Malaysia we do have this program called the National Fiberization and Connectivity Plan. We certainly need to bring more broadband connectivity as far as fixed broadbands into the country. And when I mean fixed broadband, it can be done not only with wired, but it can also be done using wireless technologies. Right? So 4G LTE or even 5G in the near future can provide that fixed broadband connectivity and see that that number goes up. Because when that number goes up, then we can also deliver more OTT services into homes and not just OTT services on smartphones. That's why I said earlier, infrastructure is important to put into place first. Then we move into content services. And I think there was an earlier number that was also shown, so similar trend if you like. In 2016, internet ADAX had already overtaken traditional TV. And this is actually in Malaysia. This is a Malaysian ADAX. And it's the same trend globally. In about 2015, 2016, the world saw that the internet ADAX outpassed traditional or TV media. And it's the same here in Malaysia. And that number, if you follow the line, it looks like a straight line. If you look at some other more granular data, it's also been exponential, especially with where content has shifted into video. And with the advent of 4G LTE and onto smartphones again, the adoption and consumption of video has just gone through the roof. And with that, mobile data has also gone through the roof in terms of where it used to be 2 gigabytes or 3 gigabytes per user per month. Now it's gone up to 15, per month per user. Right? So it's significant numbers that we have seen, and that consumer trend has also shifted where advertisers put their money. But there's also another reason, which I'll come to in a short while, why advertising dollars have gone to the way of the internet, right? And that has got to do with measurement, but I'll come back to that in a very short while. Pay TV, I think we already heard earlier, Astro has the lion's share, right, in terms of sector revenue, right? But interestingly enough, if I may share this next slide, the viewership, right, is actually with traditional TV, especially with Media Prima. So Media Prima is actually the leading free-to-air broadcaster, with its channel portfolio accounting for 35.2% of audience market share. But the ad dollars are with Astro, partly because of subscription, but it's moving into other models as well, as was described earlier. Right? Because as we said earlier, there's also the evolving business models that is shifting with the broadcasting media as well. So keep in mind, while revenue is with Astro, but the viewership is actually with Media Prima, especially on TV3. Now, the need to go digital, right? I think we have already heard earlier in terms of Encik Mazlan from MyTV, where he presented and mentioned about where it comes to broadcast television, free-to-air, Malaysia has gone digital. And Malaysia has completely switched off the analog TV broadcast. So we are now, as a country, fully digital. Right? And that happened officially on the 31st of October 2019, right? Not too long ago, just a few months. And the whole country is now fully on digital TV, right? So if you have not watched digital TV or free-to-air TV in a long while, I encourage you to try and take a look, right? Most of you who have bought your TV sets, your big screen TVs at home these days, if you bought it in the last 3 or even 4 years, very likely it actually has already a digital tuner. All you need to do is install an antenna, either an indoor and outdoor, depending on where you live, and you can actually then receive TV broadcast over the air on your existing television sets. If you have a slightly older TV, right, you can always get a decoder. I'm doing a bit of advertising for you, Mazlan, to try and get more eyeballs if you like. And that will dovetail very nicely into my next slide, which talks about audience measurement. And the whole idea here is that this is broadcast television. Right? And if you have seen the quality in terms of the images, it's HD, it's full HD, as well as the audio quality. I'm sure many of you will agree. In fact, we've had many people all over Malaysia through all walks of life who have come back to television, right? Because of the quality improvement and the reception and the overall packaging of it in terms of quality, it's brought people back to watch television, interesting enough. But it does serve specific market segments. It does serve specific audiences, and in especially suburban and rural communities, it does have a reach as well. It does have a particular niche in that sense for broadcast TV. So there's also a role to play in different types of media, if you like. And that then comes back to audience measurement. In Malaysia today, if you look at broadcast television, right, whether it's free-to-air or Astro through their satellite, and very soon now over digital, right, we will find that the measurement of audience and viewers on those platforms or on those channels is not exactly a common currency. There's certainly no one currency, as in that there's no one measurement approach, right? So it's very fragmented at the moment between pay TV to IPTV as well as free-to-air, the diagram on the left. What we want to achieve is the one on the right, where we want to move towards a common measurement system. Now, why is measurement so important? If you're familiar with big brands, right, consumer packaged goods, fast consumer marketing companies, FMCG, CPG companies, the likes of Unilever, Nestle, and Procter & Gamble, they do not advertise if they do not able to measure, right? And partly that's the reason why the ad dollars have gone to the world of the digital platforms, right? Simply because measurements are available from day one on all of these digital platforms. And here we are struggling to be able to come up with a single currency to measure TV or, if you like, video. So when I talk about TV, it's not necessarily broadcast, whether it is over the air, free to air, or it's satellite TV. It can also be on a smartphone. It can be OTT through the broadcaster's own app, or it could even be on other online platforms. Right? If the video is on YouTube, for example, and someone is watching it, or they're watching the movie that was made by, say, Media Prima, and it's actually on YouTube, how do we measure that viewership? Right? And if we can measure all those viewers, then we can actually go back to the brands and explain to them that these are my numbers. These are who and where and what time, what day, where they're coming from, watching all this, and that amounts to how much in terms of ad dollars. Opportunities ahead. Now, while we talk about broadcast media and talking about new media, we do need to, as I said and repeat it again, that infrastructure is important. So with that comes the 5G, right? And that's the next wave in terms of where the opportunities lies in terms of infrastructure for telecommunications. And 5G is also about revolutionizing and improving various different industry sectors. And for that reason, MCMC chartered the 5G Malaysia demonstration project, or in short, we call it the 5G DP. And to date, we have actually identified 100 use cases that was proposed both by government as well as industries. Of these 100 use cases, 72 of them from industry has actually been put into various different forms of implementation. And you can actually experience it yourself. Right? They cut across 9 verticals. And if I can draw your attention to the vertical on entertainment and media, which is relevant for the audiences here today. So we do have entertainment and media. And entertainment and media can include 8K broadcast over 5G, as Mazlan, I think, alluded to earlier. Or it could also include, multi-camera in a sporting event or in a concert. They have multiple camera angles. Today, with the ability to stream over 5G, you can actually choose which camera you want to watch at or watch from, right? So you as the spectator or viewer from wherever you are, at home or on the move, you can actually watch the concert or the sporting event or any events for the matter from the camera of your choice. That's the ability of what can be achieved using broadcast over 5G. Right? And that's the level of interactivity and personalization that can be made available using such a technology. And the other part is augmented reality or virtual reality. And I'm sure for those of you who watch a lot of YouTube, you will already realize that YouTube is already built to support VR from back about a year or two ago. So if you think about it, what is the content that will be able to fit into VR? How about videoing in 360 degrees? So that's where then content production and broadcasters needs to be able to look into new content production methods and how some of these can fit into the opportunities that 5G offers. So it will also bring about different formats, different content production, and different technical capabilities, but at the same time, that fuels the opportunity for creativity. That fuels also some new ideas and new opportunities ahead for you as both content as well as broadcasters. So in Malaysia, this is a summary of it. Across 6 states, 143 million has been spent by the service providers. That cuts across the 9 verticals, and these are just the 72 industry use cases that has been proposed. And we actually have 56 live sites. So bear this in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Here in Malaysia, we already have 5G in the form of the demonstration projects, and there are 56 live 5G sites as we speak today. Right? So these are already running today, and if you wish, you can actually come to me. And in fact, we're planning kind of a visit to the various different sites between the next 2 weeks, right to the end of June, 30th of June. So if any of you want to join us to experience 5G, please contact me, and I'll make sure that you're on our invite list so that you can join us on some of these visits and tours. I assure you, it'll be an eye-opening experience. And we already did a tour for the Prime Minister on the 20th of January, when he also officiated the 5G demonstration projects in Langkawi on the 19th of January. That's just last month. And this was the event. Okay? So I know I'm running out of time, so maybe what I'll do is I'll just share with you a very short 3-minute video on how we see 5G being able to impact and progress humanity.
Welcome to the world of 5G. A revolution that will transform the way we live. 5G connectivity allows massive data to be transferred at ultra-high speeds between many devices in real time. 100 use cases have been identified for Malaysians to experience the wonders of 5G. A monitoring system enhanced by artificial intelligence keeps our cities smarter and safer. This sophisticated system triggers the rapid deployment of emergency and rescue services. Real-time high-definition security systems are now live in areas within Langkawi, Subang Jaya, Petaling Jaya and Penang. In the near future, autonomous vehicles will be a reality. On the streets, self-driving cars are attuned to the surroundings, including other road users, preventing accidents within a split second. Tourists can now immerse in the beauty of Malaysia via high-definition 360-degree panoramic views. The hyper-realism of 8K takes you into the thick of the sporting action. 5G makes every second count when it matters. The connected ambulance allows medical data to be transferred real-time to the hospital, even before the patient arrives. The potential for remote consultation is limitless. Villagers can find the nearest mobile pods and get the medical attention they deserve, with medication delivered to your doorstep. 5G is also making strides in agriculture. Farmers can now monitor crop conditions with precision. The outcome enables us to grow non-native fruits and vegetables. Urban dwellers can now grow their food in their backyard. Bountiful vegetables can be cultivated in containers equipped with IoT sensors, using simulated sunlight and water systems. Seeing is believing. The power of 5G inspires our children's interactivity in learning. Senses, emotions, and knowledge are merged to build the minds and the brains for our future. Our journey forward with 5G continues. Together, we can achieve our greatest ambitions. 5G Malaysia, progressing humanity.
Well, that's what 5G promises to deliver, and with that creates new opportunities. It will also look to transform industries, both the telecommunications industry to be that of a digital services provider, as well as other industries that are across the different industry verticals that I described earlier, which will certainly support the entertainment and media industry that all of us here belong to. And in that form, just very quick one, in terms of that contribution to the digital economy, if we are that digital services provider. But that transformation can only occur if it is both inside and out. And I think earlier we saw or heard various speakers talked about it. I think Maxis has actually alluded to that fact. And there's one point where we are providers of products and services in a digital form, right? But at the same time, that's being a digital business. But at the same time, you're also the provider of a digital economy services where you're extending digital services externally. So it's both internally, you operate your business digitally, and at the same time, externally offering digital services to your customers, whether that be consumers or enterprise customers. So in summary, way forward is, the fact is this. And I think I started off by talking about YouTube and how their growth is simply because that's where the audiences are. The audiences, which includes you and I, are all already digital. In fact, we are digital first, and online and mobile. So that's the reality of the world that we live in today. Question here is, where are we? Where are all of you in that journey when we need to then be able to reach to our customers and our audiences that are already online and digital and mobile? I think the opportunity is for Malaysian media to become that digital platform. Right? I certainly welcome the moves and the strategy that was explained to us by Astro. And I think that is the way forward, right? To be able to then create that platform and be digital so that we can actually address the needs of the audiences. But it's not enough to be digital. We must digitalize. As I said at the previous slide, is that we need to be both digital inside and out. So it's not just about being digital, but we must digitalize the way in which how we work, how we reach out to our customers. And so if you realize there's the word digital in every single one of these points, right? So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them. I'd like to wish everyone thank you very much.
Thank you for the insightful presentation. I only have one question. What is MCMC doing to combat piracy?
Very good question. And I would just have to say that from a standards perspective, when, say the devices and hardware that is actually used to have access to the content, if it is the decoder boxes or the OTT boxes, or some people call it the Android boxes, that needs to fall, that actually is within MCMC under the Technology and Standards Division. Right? So those boxes has to be Cerium type approved. At the same time, we do see, there are boxes still, admittedly, that are in Malaysia that are unfortunately not with Cerium type approval. So on those, MCMC does take action. And if you have seen, especially late last year, we actually had apprehended and done the necessary enforcement on those Android box distributors. And we are going through the due process to charge them in court and so on. When it comes to the content, on the other hand, and piracy, that unfortunately is not with MCMC. That's with KPD and HEP, right? And that's a different government department. But we do work very closely with the relevant agencies to combat, with regards to piracy per se, right? So the apps itself in Malaysia, there's no one licensing apps. So if you were to download an app from, say, a publisher from anywhere in the world, and that carries pirated content, we can certainly take action by informing the platform provider, especially with regards to the copyright owner. So say, for example, if they carry copyrighted content from either Astro or Media Prima, then by right, Media Prima or Astro needs to lodge the necessary complaints with the platform owner to take those apps down, right? Whether that be Google Play Store or even Apple App Store, for example, right? So those are some of the mechanisms that we have today, right? But certainly, I agree, there must be more done, and closer collaboration and working with the likes of KPD and HEP is necessary to combat piracy. But it also goes back to the rights owner, because at times some of the content is actually provided by the content owner for distribution across different platforms. So it needs to start with the content owners themselves. Okay? Hope that answers your question.